Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon as we are wrapping up Pirkei Avot. We are at the end of chapter 5, and it's a second to last Mishnah. So we're going to be doing today the second to last one. I know it's very nice, but it's also a little bit sad, it's coming to an end. Okay, there is a sixth chapter, but of course the sixth chapter is not actually part of Pirkei Avot technically. It's just an accumulation of different statements from the Shas, and they threw it into the sixth chapter. They made up a sixth chapter, but it's not really part of Pirkei Avot. They added it later on. So we're at the end of Pirkei Avot. Chapter 5, Mishnah 26. If you're following us along on the shared screen, is going to be Mishnah 22. So here we go. Everybody ready? Here we go. Today's author is a rabbi by the name of Bagbag. Okay, that's right. You heard it right. Bagbag. Okay, not your typical name. Not a rabbi, not rabbi, not hacham, not rav. Right? Just Bagbag. Okay. Now he actually was a rabbi. He was a contemporary of. Anyone know in which era he lived? Actually, pretty early. He was part of the Tanaim, and he was a contemporary of Hillel. Okay, that's Bagbag. Now you may wonder what kind of name is that? Who calls their child Bagbag? It's like if your last name is West, so you call your child North. Doesn't really work like that in Judaism. We don't really subscribe to those. So who names the child Bagbag? So actually, our rabbis say that he was son of a convert. Actually, a convert, male and female. Converts. He was Ben Gerim, Ben Gior and Ben Gioret. He was a son of a convert, male and female. And what happened was, you had a lot of squealers back then. They would tell the Romans that these Jews converted, these people that are now Jews, they converted from what used to be Christianity. And they would get killed. So he couldn't call himself by his real name. So he made up a name. Bagbag. That's his made up name. Okay, now why would he make up that name of all names? So actually, if you look at the name, Bagbag stands for Ben Gior and Ben Gioret, the son of a convert and son of a convert female. And that was kind of his name. Others, and by the way, this actually is true for the next Mishnah as well. Ben Hey. The next Mishnah is Ben Hey. Okay? So it's like we're playing, who's on first, what's on second. So if you thought Bagbag was bad, Ben Hey is not so good either. You know what I'm saying? What's going on with that one? Bagbag and Hey. So actually, we know in general that a convert, they're called the sons of Abraham and Sarah. Why? Because the original converts, the first two converts in Judaism, to Judaism, the father and mother of Judaism, Abraham Avinu, Sarah Imenu, they converted. And every convert, they're a child of Abraham and Sarah. And in a way, people that convert, that want a Jewish name, a lot of them adopt that name. Abraham or Sarah. Here, he called himself, instead of Abraham or Sarah, he called himself Bagbag. Why? Because Abraham, originally his name was Avram, and he added the Hey. Sarai also added a Hey. So both of them added a Hey to the name. So anyone that's a convert is a student of Abraham and Sarah, the Hey and the Hey. That's Ben Hey. The son of Hey and Hey. Right? Hey you, right? Hey. Well, Hey is a numerical value of 5. So I guess that was already taken. And now Bagbag needs to figure out a different name. So he decided to pick a name with the same numerical value of Hey. If Hey is 5, Bet and Gimel is also 5, 2 and 3. So instead of Hey, he called himself Bagbag. Okay? And then I guess the Russians decided to go with Ben Da, right? Okay, fine, that was a bad joke. But Da is right, fine. Dalet Aleph, no, 1 and 4, nobody? Yeah, you feel me, okay, fine. Ben Bagbag. Either way, now we know who he is. Well, what does he want to tell us? Famous line, we've quoted this so many times. Hafoch ba v'hafoch ba dekol haba. Meaning delve in it and delve in it. For everything is in it. Let's go slow. First of all, hafoch ba v'hafoch ba. That means that the Torah is never ending. You study it for 5 years. There's another 5 years that you could study. Okay, you studied for 10. Doesn't matter, there's still more. 100, there's still more. Torah is infinite. Okay? No matter how much you have, out of infinity, you don't even have 1%. 1 and a billion out of infinity is the same ratio, is the same percentage. Right? You cannot ever finish infinity. The Torah is infinite because the Torah is Hashem's thoughts. And Hashem is infinite. So no matter how much you learned, you see Acham Ovadia Yosef at the end of his life, in his 90s. And look how many books he wrote. And he finished Shas in his teens. And he knew every book by heart. And he's still studying. Because the more you delve, the more clarity you have. Things that maybe weren't so clear. Or you discover new facets in the Torah. That is, and by the way, this is a response to the previous Mishnah. Previously on Pirkei Avot, what did we learn? Previously we learned how at 5 you study Chumash, and at 10 you study Mishnah, and at 15 you study Gemara. And one may think, okay, and if and then I graduate till I'm at 18, I get married, and I go at 20 and I get a business, and I'm done. And I graduate learning Torah. Says Ben Bagbag, hafoch ba v'hafoch ba. That's his response. Just in case you misunderstood the last Mishnah. Maybe it was misleading that you thought that you could finish studying at the age of 18 and you go get into work and you're done. Delve in it and delve in it. Dekula ba. Why? Everything is in it. All of the world's wisdom. The famous mashal that we gave, there was once a king and he finds 3 people. He tells them, I'll give you each a wish. The first man says, my dear king, I would like to please have $1 billion. The king says, no problem. Gives him $1 billion. The next guy says, my dear king, I want to be duke of a province. He says, no problem, you become duke of a province. The third man says to himself, if I ask for money, I'm going to get it. If I ask for honor, I'm going to get it. But I want both. I want all of the above. I want to ask for something that could give me everything. And he turns and he says, my dear king, I only have one request. I would like your daughter's hand in marriage. When you marry the daughter's king, you have everything. The daughter's king. When you marry the king's daughter, you have everything. Similarly, Shlomo HaMelech. Remember Shlomo? What happened with him? Shlomo HaMelech became the king, and God says to him, I'll give you any request you like. Ask away. And Shlomo could have asked for money. He could have asked for honor. But he says, I'm going to ask for something that's going to give me everything. He asked for lev lahavin. He asked for wisdom. He asked for Torah. And of course, we know how that played out. Shlomo HaMelech was the wisest of all men. The 2 ladies came the next day, and they had a dilemma. Each one was born. Each one gave birth to a baby, beautiful baby boy. Well, unfortunately, one of them suffocated the baby to death overnight, sleeping on it by accident. She woke up in the morning. She sees her baby is dead. But as she looks closer, she realizes it's not her baby. It's her neighbor's baby, and her neighbor switched it. It must be her neighbor that killed the baby, and she gave her hers and she took his. So she went over and she says, hey, give me back my child. You stole my child. She's like, what are you talking about? This is my baby. It's mine. She's like, no, it looks exactly like me. I know what my child looks like. This is not my baby. This is yours. Your baby died. That's mine. Mine's a live one. Give me back mine. Each one's pulling. They go to Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo asks each one, questions each one. Very good. Shlomo says, bring me the sword. We're going to split him. Cut him in half. Which half do you want, lady? The right half or the left half? One lady's like, oh, I guess I'll take the right half. I don't know. The other one says, give me neither. I was kidding. It's her baby. I was completely lying. You could just forget what I said. She's the real mother. I'll go home. And Shlomo looks at her. He says, you must be the mother. A mother would never let her child get killed. You must be the real mom. Right? Then they have the mother-in-law version to this one. Do we all know the mother-in-law version? We said this one before. Right? Did we say it or no? Yeah, everyone's laughing, so they know the mother-in-law one. The two mother-in-laws, they call the Shatchanit. We want someone for our daughter. So she said, okay, I'm sending two boys off the bus. They're going to come and let them date your daughters. Each one, pick whichever one you want. Well, wait for the bus. Bus arrives. Only one bachelor is there. Only one guy. Each mother-in-law is pulling. It's my daughter. No, it's my daughter. They go to the rabbi. The rabbi remembers Shlomo HaMelech. He says, all right, we know what, we're going to cut him in half. One lady says, okay. The rabbi says, you must be the mother-in-law. You must be the mother-in-law if you're okay with, right? So that is the wisdom of Shlomo HaMelech. There's a great story that's brought down. Hacham Ovadia brings this in his Sefer, his commentary on Pirkei Avot called Anaf Etz Avot. Listen to what Rav Ovadia Yosef says. He says there was once a scientist in the Gemara's time. He wanted to know how long it takes for snakes to reproduce. Okay, interesting study. So he took two eggs, he let them mate, and he waited and waited and waited. 7 years later, 7 years of his life, finally he sees the snake gave birth. Okay, great. All of a sudden, he's walking by the study hall and he hears the rabbis discussing different animals, and all of a sudden he hears the rabbi say, the snake reproduces every 7 years. And the scientist can't believe it. He's like, what? I just discovered that. I just did a 7-year study. How did you? He's so upset. A scientist, when you have something that's new that you introduce to the world and then you realize that you actually stole it. An artist that painted a beautiful painting, but then they realized that they actually got inspired by a different artist, the same colors, and they actually kind of subconsciously, they stole it. They can't live with themselves. I stole, Yves Klein's Blue Door. I stole this, they can't handle it. So this scientist couldn't believe that this study was already discovered by the rabbis. He went over to the rabbi and says, tell me, how do you know? He says, it's very simple. It says when God cursed the snake, he says to him, because you did this, because you did this, more cursed shall you be than all cattle, and all the wild beasts. Pasuk stresses two types of animals, cattle and beasts. And so you have cattle, beast, snake. He says, what's the ratio of labor, of conception between a cattle and a beast? How long does it take for cattle to reproduce? 50 days. Beasts, a whole year. What percentage is that? What's the ratio of 50 to a year, 50 days to a year? It's 1/7, 7 times. So it must be that a snake is 7 times more than a beast. So 7 years. And the scientist started hitting himself on the wall. I wasted 7 years of my life. And this rabbi found it in one pasuk. Hafoch ba v'hafoch ba dekol haba. The story that we've said so many times about that man with the tumor. And he came to the Chazon Ish. They recommended going to the Chazon Ish. He could help you. The man says, I have a tumor the size of a golf ball. And the doctors told me it's over. What is the Chazon Ish going to do? He said, don't worry, go to the Chazon Ish. And he went to the Chazon Ish. And he says, listen, he starts crying. He starts crying. He says, the doctors, they told me that it's not operable. There's no chance to do a surgery. The tumor is too close to the nervous system, whatever the details were. And he starts crying and crying on this sad verdict that he has, that he's going to die in literally just a few weeks. The Chazon Ish turns to the man and he says, do you have the MRIs? Do you have the paperwork? He says, actually, yeah, I brought them with me from the hospital. He hands him the CAT scans. He looks at them. The Chazon Ish starts studying them, reading them, nodding as if he understands. Something that only top oncologists could understand. He tells his gabbai, bring me a paper. He brings him a piece of paper. He takes his pencil and he starts drawing a diagram of the brain with all the different parts. And then with his pencil, he starts making a dotted line through the brain. like a treasure map. X marks the spot. And this man is watching there with disbelief. He can't believe his eyes. What's going on over here? Is this a joke? Is this a game? You're playing like Sudoku? What is this? Like making a maze over here? And the Chazon Ish looks at it. He says, perfect. Go to the doctor, tell him to follow my instructions, to operate following these guidelines, and you'll be fine. He's like, are you serious? He's like, just tell him to follow this, you'll be fine. The man goes back to the doctor. He says, do you mind if I just show you something that my friend, you don't want to say a rabbi, he said that my friend recommended. So the doctor says, listen, I'm the top in the field. I don't need to see what your intern friend showed you. He said, no, please listen. He's a smart man. He knows it's my life. Just, would you look at it? This is my life. This is, how much, this is 5 seconds of your time extra. Just please, could you look at what he did? He said, if you could just read this. He says, I don't have time for these things, but okay, quickly, give me, let me see. He looks at the paper, he pulls it out, he looks at this drawing, cartoon. And he can't believe it either. He's amazed. He's like, where'd you get this from? This is brilliant. I never saw a technique like this in my life. Who gave this to you? Who's this doctor? He called an emergency meeting. He operated on the man on the spot. The man was alive 20 years later to tell the story. The doctor needed to meet this rabbi. He head down to Bnei Brak. He finds the Chazon Ish. He knocks on the door. He says, well, with all due respect, Rabbi, I went to medical school. I graduated. I studied under the top doctors for 15 years of my life. You don't even have a bachelor's degree. How in the world did you know this? Where'd you study this? Where'd you get this from? Who'd you steal this? Chazon Ish tells the man, I want to tell you a story. There was once a man, he went to the bakery to buy a pound of cake. Cake, you go to the bakery. He says to the lady, can I get half a pound of cake? She says, no problem. She cuts it up, she puts it in the box, and she takes the red and white string. She starts wrapping the box. Whole, right, going back and under and everything, turning the box 100 times. Hakafot, right, Simchat Torah. Makes a bow on the top, a knot and everything. He hands the man the box. $4.50, sir. No problem. He pays $4.50. He goes home. A few days later, the guy realizes he needs some string. He has to hang some things in the backyard. He says, Home Depot's a little bit far. Let me go instead to the bakery. They had string. He goes to the bakery. Can I get some string? She says, sorry, sir, which cake? He says, no, just the string. Could I have some string? You want string? You know this is a bakery, right? He says, yeah, I know it's a bakery, but could I have some string? Sure, how much string would you like? 10 feet. 10 feet, no problem. She starts measuring 1, 2, 3, 10 feet. Here you go. That'll be $4. What? $4? I said, yeah, $4. He said, come on, don't take advantage of me. Last week I bought the cake for $4.50. You gave me 100 yards of string. Now I just want 10 feet. You charge me $4? The lady behind the counter looks at this man. She says, you fool. This is a bakery. If you buy cake, everything's included free of charge. But if you buy string, we're going to charge you for every inch. Chazon Ish looks at this doctor. He says, in life, you went for the string. You studied oncology. Good for you. And what you have is what you get. I went for the cake. I went for the Torah. When you get the cake, everything is included. Everything is free of charge. Hafoch ba va'afoch ba de kol haba. When you have Torah, you have all the wisdoms, all the sciences, all the maths, all the lessons in life. You won't need to study other areas. You get it from the Torah. Of course, one has to know how to look. That's actually the next line. Ubate hezeh. The Mishnah continues. Ubate hezeh means look deeply. Only then will you find the appropriate lessons. You can't come and read the Gemara, for 5 minutes and expect to see all the insights into life. That's not how it works. You study it seriously. After you learn, You see the world in a spiritual way. Rav Chanan Wasserman says something beautiful. If someone comes and tells you that you're dirty, and then someone else comes and tells you, you know, you're not dirty, how do you know if you're dirty or not? Someone says you are, someone says you're not. There's a great joke. I got to share with you a joke, okay? Could I share with you a joke? We're allowed, right? Once in a while. There's once a man, he comes to the rabbi and says, I want to study Gemara. The rabbi says, listen, Gemara is not for you. It's very difficult. He says, no, Rabbi, try me. I think I can handle it. He says, all right. I'll ask you a question. I'll test you. If you answer this properly, then you're ready for Gemara. He says, okay, no problem. The rabbi says, let me ask you this, okay? Two guys, they come down a chimney. One of them's dirty, one of them's clean. Who takes a shower? He says, the clean guy doesn't take a shower. The dirty guy takes a shower. That's easy. The rabbi says, you see, Gemara's not for you. He says, what do you mean? The dirty guy showers. He's like, no. You see, Gemara, you got to think differently. The clean guy looks at the dirty guy and he thinks he's dirty. The dirty guy looks at the clean guy and thinks he's clean. So matter of fact, the clean guy is the one that's going to shower. He says, wow. Rabbi, I got to hand it to you. Good for you. That was, all right, you know what? I got it. I understand how Gemara thinks now. Test me again, Rabbi. Okay, I'll test you again. Two guys come down a chimney. One's clean, one's dirty. Who takes a shower? Well, he says, okay, Rabbi, well, you would think that the clean guy doesn't take the shower and the dirty guy showers. That's what you would think. But matter of fact, the dirty guy actually looks at the other guy and sees he's clean, so he thinks he's also clean. So the dirty guy doesn't shower. On the other hand, this clean guy thinks he's dirty, so the clean guy goes shower. The rabbi says, you see, Gemara's not for you. What are you talking about? I literally just repeated. It's like, listen, that's what they would think. But then they see the mirror. And the clean guy looks in the mirror. He sees that actually he's clean. And the dirty guy looks in the mirror. He realizes he's actually dirty, so the dirty guy showers. He's like, Rabbi, now come on. How am I supposed to know there's a mirror in the room? Gemara, you have to think of all the options. Wow. All right, Rabbi. I think I really got it this time. Just test me one more time. Give me one more chance, please. All right, one more chance and that's it. He says, okay, I can really do it. Okay, one more chance. Here we go. Two guys come down a chimney. One's clean, one's dirty. Who showers? He says, okay, Rabbi. So I got it. If there's a mirror, so the clean guy sees that he's clean, the dirty guy sees that he's dirty, so the dirty guy showers. If there's no mirror, so actually the clean guy thinks that he's dirty, so the clean guy showers, and the dirty guy thinks he's clean, so he doesn't shower. Rabbi says, you just don't get it. You see, Gemara is just not for you. He's like, Rabbi, what did I say wrong? I said literally everything that you said. This Gemara is not for you. He's like, Rabbi, please tell me, what did I get wrong? Rabbi looks at the man, he says, tell me, how could two guys come down a chimney, one clean and one dirty? Right, so says Rav Chanan Wasserman. Someone tells you you're dirty and someone else tells you you're not dirty. What do? You go look in a mirror. Right, you look in a mirror. The mirror is the Torah. The Torah gives us a reality check. The Torah is the mirror that allows us to be honest and real and realistic with ourselves. When we study Torah, we learned one time, I don't know if you remember this, because it's literally connecting the beginning to the end, or the end to the beginning. The first Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, maybe it's the second, all the way back in the beginning. Okay, chapter 1. The world stands on three things: Torah, Avodah, and Gemilut Chasadim. And we said at the time that there are three types of relationships. There's man to God, man to man, and man to self. And the relationship of man to God is symbolized by tefillah, avodah, prayer. The relationship from man to man is chesed. And the relationship of man to oneself is the Torah. The Torah, when we study it, it helps us be real with who we are. We're able to confront our problems. We're not delusional. We realize who we are, what we have, what we have to fix, where we have to change, where we grow. The Gaon Mevilna, he used to say something guys, I want you to hear this, okay? The Gaon Mevilna used to say, if you're ever in doubt in life of a major decision, I'm not talking about, where should you go for lunch? Or should you wear your blue shirt or your white shirt? A serious decision in life, right? We all know when those come. And you're not sure what's the right choice. Okay? I had one recently. I'm sure you've had them plenty. Right? A serious question. You're not sure. You don't know. And even rabbis, they're split. Some are saying this way, some are saying that way. Gaon Mevilna said something very beautiful. He said, if you ever find yourself in such a predicament, sit down and study Torah. And learn till you reach the point that you're learning L'Shem Shamayim. Learn till you're Lishma. Learn till you're altruistic. And once you reach that point, close the Gemara, close the books, and now make a decision. Now you'll have clarity in life. This is the Gaon Mevilna. This is not me or some rabbi today promising you this. This is the advice of the Gaon Mevilna. Matter of fact, many times people used to come get berachot from Gedolim, Chatam Sofer. They say that when people came to get a beracha from him, once in a while he would ask everybody to wait outside. And he would go open the Gemara and start learning. And then he would call them back in. And everyone's like, Rabbi, I don't understand. You have a whole line of people here. Couldn't the Gemara wait? Couldn't you learn after? And the Chatam Sofer said, you don't understand. Giving advice to people doesn't come easy, doesn't come free. Where do you think I get it from? I get it from the Torah. But sometimes you run out of fuel. Sometimes the Torah is running out. Sometimes someone asks me a question, I don't know. The only way for me to get the advice is to help him is from the Torah. So I ask everybody to wait. I study, and I study, and I study. And then I'm ready to properly advise them. Hafoch ba v'hafoch ba de kol haba. All of life's lessons are in it. Ubate hezeh, but again, we have to look deeply. Okay. Next line. Vesiv uble ba. What does that mean? Vesiv uble ba. That means grow old and gray over it. Meaning again, you can never retire from studying. People tell me all the time, Rabbi, don't you learn enough? Hajj, take a break. Enough. Relax. You can't relax. There's no relaxing from Torah. You can never graduate Torah. That's why, by the way, what do they call a rabbi? Anyone know? What do they call a rabbi? A chacham, but also a talmid chacham. What's a talmid chacham? A student. Isn't that, imagine you go to a professor of Harvard and you call him, hey, exchange student, come here, I have a question for you. Exchange student? Are you crazy? That's the professor of Yale. You call him professor, you call him with respect. Every rabbi though, we call him Talmid Chacham. Mr. Student Rabbi. Because in Torah you're always a student. You never finish. Matter of fact, the first letter of the Torah is what? Bet. Bereshit. Why? Because even Aleph you don't know. No matter how many times you finish the Torah, you don't even know Aleph. And the Shas, the Gemara begins also on page Bet. There's no page Aleph. I was once teaching the boys. They're like, Rabbi, why are we starting from the second page? I'm like, no, this is the first page, but we call it page 2. Because, again, the message, no matter how many times we finish this, we never really finish. You don't even know page 1. A beautiful lesson. Umina lo tazuat. Do not move away from it day and night, all day long. She'en lecha midat tova emena. There is no better investment than the Torah. Rabbi Akiva once came to his colleague and he said to him, let me ask you, I have a great investment. Would you like me to invest for you? He says, no problem. He gives him 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever it was. Rabbi Akiva goes, he invests the money where? In a yeshiva. He opens up a yeshiva. Kolel. A few years later, Rabbi Akiva meets the rabbi again, and the rabbi says, tell me, how's my investment going? Did we make how much? 20%, 30%? Rabbi Akiva says to him, come, I'll show you. You want to see your investment? Come. He comes, he brings him, he shows him the yeshiva. He says, look, that's your investment. So the rabbi got angry. He says, you told me I have an investment. Rabbi Akiva said to him, this is the best investment. Vetzitkato omedet la'ad. You invest in real estate, you invest in building, you invest in marijuana, you invest in AT&T, right? You're going to lose your money. Eventually, everything gets lost. But Torah, the best investment. There's no greater investment in the world than Torah. You could never lose it. This half hour that you just spent learning, you'll never lose. You have it in the bank, in Shamayim, and nobody could steal it. Today, no matter which money your bank is in, it's not foolproof. They have bank robberies. You can put it in a safe. You can put wherever. People can rob. This hour of Torah that you just spent learning, you'll never lose it. There was once a boy. He was delivering different food and flowers to people Friday afternoon. Delivery man. People paid him. Gave him a tip. Right before Shabbat, he had all this money in his pocket. He goes to the mikveh. Erev Shabbat, people have a custom to go to the mikveh. This boy goes to the mikveh. He comes out. He got robbed. Someone stole all his money. Right? He went in cleaning his body. Someone came to clean out his pockets. And he was so hurt. And he says, I spent so many hours and I lost it in 1 second. I got to find an investment that you can't lose in. He spoke to his rabbi. His rabbi introduced him to Torah. He says, Torah you'll never lose. The boy sat, he studied Torah. He ended up becoming one of the greatest rabbis, Rabbi Chatzkel Abramsky, rabbi in England. En lecha midat tova emena. There's no greater investment than the Torah. It's money in the bank. It's security. It's our lifeline. It's our advice. It's our happiness. It's everything. So this is the Torah. How lucky we are. Ashrei ha'am shekach lo. How lucky we are that we have this and that we could study this every single day of our lives. We should be zochet to really delve and delve and delve, to glean all of the insights. How many times people here text me, Rabbi, that was unbelievable. What a lesson today. So applicable. Things that are being written by top therapists today. Our Torah had it 2,000 years ago. How lucky we are to have the Torah. We should be zochet to always see it as such. We'll stop over here. Tomorrow we wrap it up with the last Mishnah, Be'ezrat Hashem. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.